Well, I think it's the time of year that all the fans and most everybody looks forward to in the state rivalry game. Certainly, it's been a challenging season for us. One that, while nothing could make the challenges and the results go away totally, would be a good way to try to end the season on a positive note if we could win the last one in-state rival game. Certainly Georgia has a good team. I think they're playing very well defensively. Got a lot of good players. Offensively, the last little bit they've run the ball very well. Sony Michelle's done a nice job carrying the load that way. And, we know that we're going to have to play better to have a chance to win the game. We can't. I think we've had 7 turnovers in the last 3 halves. If we continue down that line, it won't be pretty. So we've got to get our house in order a little bit and come out. I'm sure our guys will be excited to play and see what happens.
Even so, could you have seen 3-8?
No. I'm like I said, this is new territory for me. And it's kind of been a situation where every game, for the most part, we've been in, and we find a way to self-implode. And I don't know if that's just playing young guys or if it's just our turn. I've been doing it a long time. Maybe it's my turn. But it's like, just Saturday's a great example. I mean, we're down there and we're moving the ball. Even when we lost Justin, and we're down there getting ready to go up 14-7, and we turn a guy loose on the goal line, and we don't follow the fullback like we're supposed to, and we turn the ball over. Then we let them go 98 yards with it. So you just compound the error on top of errors. We get the ball back, make a couple first downs, hand it off, gets it ripped out of our hands. It gets the forward progress rule works for us. It doesn't seem to. But, still yet you got to come out with the ball. Now it's 21-7, and it's an uphill climb, as opposed to you being ahead 14-7 or 21-7. And that's kind of the way it's gone. I mean, you go back to the North Carolina game, and we had every chance to win that game. You look at our division, Pitt, we had every chance to win that game. We can't get the two to play together, or we can't seem to make a play at an opportune time. I mean, in the Pitt game, North Carolina, we get stopped on the goal line. We hold them, and then we fumble the very first next play, and then they score. It's just been one of those kind of years. Pitt, we're coming off our own goal line. We get the first down. We get an offensive pass interference penalty. Then they hold the ball for the rest of the game and kick a 56-yard field goal. I mean, I think every team set a school record for field goals against us this year. So it's like it's just been one of those years, and a lot of it has been self-inflicted.
Lynn Griffin, most of his career here has been as a defensive back, and then he, volunteered to come over and with all the injuries and play A-back. He looked like he showed some flashes of what he could do. Is he at the point where he understands the offense now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's getting better, and it was good to see Lynn do some things with the ball. That was encouraging. I mean, he's a good athlete, and I think that, like anything, the more experience he plays there, the better he'll be. I wish we'd have moved him in the fall. I wanted to. At that time, he wasn't sure he wanted to do that. I think he would have helped us. But, a lot of those guys, even we're playing a lot of freshmen, but if you look at that position, I mean, next year we thought Nathan Cottrell might be the best guy we had off a week of practice. Well, he'll be back. Quay Searcy will be back. J.J. Green will be back. Some of those guys that are playing now may not be playing next year. So it's just, I looked out there Saturday, and one time we had 7 freshmen on offense, and you're playing with the third quarterback and probably the fourth or fifth B-back, and, I think the kids are trying hard. We just got to be smarter and hang on the ball and do that. Effort hadn't been a problem. I mean, they've played hard.
someone who remembers every down, every play, every snap, are you an individual that can flush it like that?
Probably not, but you got to try. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I don't know anybody who can, I can flush the wins pretty easy. You move on because you're just kind of, the losses kind of stay with you. I got a lot better memory of all the games we lost than the ones we won. But, I mean, you have to. It just eats you up if you don't. It's all you can do. But I don't ever want to take it. I don't have to worry about that individually. I'll never get that way. The old adage, show me a good loser and I'll show you. Yeah, I'm not a good loser. I think that everybody around me can tell you that, and I think the team can tell you that. And so it's not acceptable. You don't accept it, but you have to try to fix it and move on. I mean, you can't go back, and it's just like when you're winning, sometimes the little things don't get magnified, the path of the beatback or the cut off or whatever, because the next play you score. But when you lose, all that stuff gets magnified. And all of it just kind of is a harsh reality of you've got to stay on top of all those little things all the time, and you got to get them fixed. And it's just like the goal line play. Something like that happened Saturday is so frustrating to me. I personally walked through that for 10 minutes on Wednesday and Thursday. Personally. And then when we don't do it right, you just shake your head. I mean, how could you turn that guy loose, or how could you, it's mind-boggling. But it happens. That's why you play the games, I guess.
Georgia Southern's offense is different. They run out of the gun, obviously. Does Georgia have any type of advantage, do you think, in playing them just a week before?
They've really played 3 option teams in a row, if you want to count. That's what Auburn is, really. I don't know. They played Georgia Southern pretty good. They held them to 10 points. They scored 7 on defense. They got really good players. The 2 outside linebackers are NFL guys. I mean, I think 84 is probably a first-round draft pick. He's really a disruptor and a good player. Floyd kid. Jordan Jenkins has really played. I think his senior year, he's playing better than he's ever played. And then they got big guys inside. So they've played pretty good defensively if you go back and look. They've played against us. We played against them. I don't think there'll be a whole lot of change. They played 3 fronts against us last year. I mean, that's what they play against everybody. Nobody's going to reinvent the wheel in 3 days. Now you might have a tweak or an adjustment, but you might do something to try to take advantage of what they've done, or they may do something to try to take advantage of what we do. But there's not going to be a lot of wholesale changes. I mean, if you go back and look this year, I think out of the 11 games we played, 10 teams have lined up the same way.
Matthew, we know a little bit about him. Can you just, what kind of player is he? What are his strengths? Yeah, obviously a tough runner, but what do you feel?
Well,
like
he's he's played in 1 game. I think that'll be determined. He's a tough kid. I think he's a decent runner. He throws the ball adequately. Got to make better decisions than we made Saturday on when to pitch it and when to keep it and when not to throw it and when to throw it. What inevitably happens sometimes, and as a coach, I've learned this through the years, and I still didn't do it because you're human. The first time he ran the option to the left and he turned upfield and he pitched it on the ground and I got after him pretty good, that's a pretty good indication that when I got after him pretty good, he won't ever turn it loose again. And he didn't for a long time. That's just human nature, The play before the interception, the safety was really rolling down hard on the option. We came back with play action. The guy's wide open. Ricky's probably 10 yards behind him. He gets a little pressure. He pulls it down. I yell at him. The guy's wide open. You got to turn it loose. Next time he turned it loose, the guy wasn't wide open. It's when you're dealing with young guys, you got to be careful what you ask for, because you'll get it right at the time you don't need to get it.
You still open your home on Thursday for Thanksgiving for players that don't have it?
Mm-hmm.
And is Marcus then allowed to bring his brother Keith over to your house for Thanksgiving?
I don't know. Keith's still playing, and we hadn't seen him. He hadn't played much. I thought he might be hurt or something. Yeah, what happens is, as you can imagine, not very many players come to the head coach's house. We'll have a lunch here for the team and families, and we have a little thing that we do, and the coaches' wives bring desserts, and we give the kids and all that kind of stuff. But then anybody who doesn't have a place to go, all the coaches, most every coach opens up their home to come over. And as a general rule, most of our guys go with guys. You know, we have enough guys that live close in the area, and you're through Thursday at lunch, and they don't have to be back Friday until 3. So they usually go home with somebody or whatever. Once in a while, you'll have a few come to the house, but not often.
You had some plays where you were able to get Marcus Marshall outside on the on the pitch. Did you like what you saw there?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. You know, when he got the pitch out there on some of the speed option stuff down the line, we'd like to finish a couple of them and get them in the end zone, but you got to block a little better for him too. But Marcus Marshall is, as a general rule, pretty good with the ball in his hands. But unfortunately, you don't have the ball in your hands every play, and you got to do other things. So that's where his challenge is, and you know, he's a freshman. We're driving home Saturday night, and even though you've played 10 games, they're freshmen. It's like my wife said, he was playing in high school last year at this time. You know, the speed of the game and the people we're playing against are a little bit different. You know, I was not joking, but we were talking about Brad Stewart. You know, he's fought through injury, he's hurt a little bit, and I think here especially, you see these freshmen, we're about the point where some of these freshmen kind of hit the wall. And they not only hit the wall physically, but it's school and exams and everything is coming together. And they're just not used to the wear and tear. I mean, you're going to play, you know, at Clemson, at Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech, Georgia. Their secondary is a little different than Metter High School, where you were playing against last year, and there's a transition period in there. So you don't accept it if it's not going great, but you also can kind of understand it a little bit. You know, you have to have a little bit, you have to find that fine line where you challenge them, but you also understand that, you know, 3 years from now it might be a little different. The reverse pass Saturday, you know, the guy's 20 yards behind the guy. But that's the first time he's ever done it. It's raining, the ball's wet. You know, I bet you next time he continues to come around where he can plant his feet, because he can throw it. I mean, that's why we put it in. He does it in practice. So all those things I think will get better. It's hard to wait on them sometimes.
Coach, I know it's been a tough season, obviously, with all the losses, but has there been any silver lining you've been able to pull out of this, either from some of the way the freshmen have stepped up or some of the other guys that have stepped in on a tough situation?
Yeah. Well, I think the two things that have been a positive to this point is, one, those freshmen will be sophomores, and they've all got a chance to play, and they'll have experience, and you'll have some of that. And there are no moral victories. I'm not into moral victories. But the one thing I'll say about these kids, for the most part, and I think it says a little something about their character, they don't quit. They keep, you know, it's like that dog that keeps running into the car. He ain't getting in, but he keeps running. And they've kept coming. I mean, it's not like it's, and sometimes when you get in a situation like this, I would imagine, again, I hadn't been in one, but I would imagine it might be easy to quit running into the car, you know. So it's like, I think that the freshmen are like drinking from a fire hose. I don't think that they figured out that they possibly could not run into the car. but the older guys they've kept playing. I mean, they just kind of resilient and kind of keep going. And that's all you can ask them to do. We'd like to do it smarter and better, but that would be, it's like I told the team after the locker room or after the game Saturday. What's happening is not acceptable. I'm not going to accept it. I don't think anybody's going to accept it. But I will give you credit. I mean, they're still fighting like hell in the fourth quarter. They're still playing, you know. And I've seen a lot of teams who wouldn't. They'd just sack the bats and go on.